Hey y'all, it's Alex Vanover back with DIY Alex, and in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to use cardstock to make super cute place cards with your Cricut. Now, I made these place cards for the women in my Bible study. We took some identity statements that Jesus would give us and put them on some little Valentine's place cards, but you could take this same concept and transfer it to any type of event that you may want to make place cards for. You could use this for baby showers, wedding showers, the actual wedding itself, and so much more. Now, a couple things to note before we jump in. First of all, I did do this project in real time, so I didn't do any pre-planning. So you'll notice this is a little bit of a less poised video than you're used to seeing from me, but I hope you guys enjoy the full process of what it really looks like to design a project when things are not set up in advance. All right, let's jump into this video. So what I am making is place cards for my Valentine's Day Bible study. We're having a little Galentine's Day party, and I wanted to make just something cute to remind everybody what their identity is in Jesus. So instead of their names being on the place cards, I'm going to use some words that Jesus tells us that we are because of him, such as adopted, chosen, forgiven, free, those kinds of things. So those are the words that we're going to be using because that's who we really are. So for starters, I'm going to make one place card and make sure that I like it, and then we'll go ahead and make the rest. So I'm going to begin by going into the basic shapes panel and just choosing a square. Then we can manipulate it to be whatever size we want. So I'm going to begin by keeping it selected and then unlocking it. And then I'm going to start playing around with the size. And I was kind of thinking about 3 inches wide or so, and then wanting to go maybe about 5 or so inches high, because it is going to have a score line in the middle and be folded in half. So, it's not going to be the full width, of course. It's going to be folded in half. So let's try maybe 5 inches high and see how that works. Design Space is not wanting to respond. There we go. 5 inches high, but that's a little bit more of like a, it's going to be a little bit more of a square than I want. So maybe we'll make the width about 2.5 inches wide. And that way, well, that'll make it exactly a square because this will be folded in half. So let's try this at 4 inches high, and then that way it'll be 2 inches high and 2.5 inches wide. So then I'm going to go ahead and make it like a light pink color. I'm going to be doing some light pink and dark pink place cards. Then we're going to go back into the basic shapes panel and insert a score line. And then I'm going to take that score line and I'm going to turn it 90 degrees. And luckily it has the degrees for me right there, so I know it'll be exactly 90, which is great. Then I'm going to stretch it to fit across my project. Then I'm going to select both with my mouse, and I'm going to use the align menu to make sure that we are, let's see, centered vertically, I think. Yeah. So that way we know it's exactly in the middle. So that's kind of what our place card is going to look like. And then I'm going to add kind of a 3D heart either in the center or off to the side. I haven't decided which yet. I'm also going to have the Cricut write these names directly onto the place card so that everything is super easy for me. So I'm going to go ahead and select both and attach so that I know that the card and the score line are together. So then we're going to go ahead and add some text. So I'm going to insert the T for text, and it's way down here. So let's move it up a little bit. And we're going to start typing in some of these words. So the first thing that I want to use is adopted. I want that to go all on one line. And then I want to change the font. Shh, baby. So I'm going to go into the font menu. And I'm going to leave it under Cricut. They have the most options for writing fonts. So then I'm going to use the filter and choose a writing filter to make sure that the font that we use has a writing style. And I want to use like a really clear, but also kind of decorative cursive. So I like brown sugar a lot. So we may take a look at that. Ew, I also like this one. That's very cute. Let's try that one, DTC Cottage Style. So that says adopted, and it's in the writing style. So it'll look something like this, and I can't exactly center it just on the section that is scored, but I'll just kind of eyeball it. So that looks pretty good to me, and then that will leave me some room here towards the top to add in the 3D hearts like I talked about. So I like the way that looks, and so I'm going to go ahead and start duplicating it. So I just used the duplicate button at the top of the layers panel, and it may take a few seconds to respond, but I left the text on there because that way I can just change it to the different words that I want it to be. And then we already have the font and everything selected, so that makes it really quick and easy. I'll just have to recenter them, but that's okay because I have a bunch of different words anyways, so they would all probably need to be moved around anyway. So now I'm just going to go through and change each of the text to the words I want to use, and then we'll continue. Okay, so now I have everything where I want it. I'm going to click and select everything, including the words, and I'm going to attach each one. So my goal is to make about 30 of these. So I have 15 of them here in the pink. I'm just going to select everything by dragging my mouse over it all and duplicating it. And then I'm going to change the color to a darker pink so I can cut it on a second piece of paper. Oh shoot, okay, I can't do that, I guess. Okay, well then I will have to go through. Okay, so I'll have to look at each one and change the square. So we maybe did that a little bit prematurely. So then I'm going to go through and change all of these to the dark pink, and then I'll prepare the hearts. So now that we have all of our cards ready to go, I also want to add some 3D hearts. And I had this idea to go into Cricut Images and look for a scalloped heart. I would love to have a scalloped heart on the edge and then a smaller heart inside. I think that would just be so cute. Ooh, that one looks kind of cute. And the nice thing is we can just select a bunch and then kind of place them into the project. Ooh, that one's cute. And then we'll just see how they work. A lot of them have holes though, and I don't really want holes in mine. Let's see. I would love to find a layered one because I want to do a solid color and then some pattern paper maybe on the edges. But they're also going to be really small, so I don't want to do them like too complicated. Like these little scallops that are cut out here, that makes me a little concerned for the size, because I think that would be tough on my Cricut to cut. Okay, so we've got a couple options. We will add that one in there too. And that one's got 3, but I could always cut that middle one out. So let's add these to the canvas and see what they would look like with some of our cards. Okay, Oh, that one has holes in it, so we'll have to delete that. I kind of like how this is a really simple scalloped edge, like the scallops are a little bit bigger. So if we deleted this middle layer, let's hide that. Yeah, I think that is probably more like what I'm looking for because I'm going to use pattern paper on the outside here as well. So I'm going to keep these in my project. I'm just going to hide them. And then I'm going to make this one really small and try to picture what this will look like. Okay. Because they'll stick up above the score line. So maybe they'll kind of go something like that. Or I could tip them a little bit and go off to the side. Or they could go right in the center like that and kind of stick up in the middle. So yeah, I think that could be good. Yeah, I think that's good. So I'm gonna, let's see. Let's ungroup this. And I think all of the background paper is going to be the same. And maybe I'll keep all these the same as well, just to make things a little bit simpler. So I'm going to need a lot of both of these. I'm going to go ahead and select them both, and we're going to need about 30 total of each. Okay. So even though this is all a mess, one trick that I've learned is instead of duplicating it 30 times, you can duplicate kind of a group of them like this. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to select them all, and then I'm going to duplicate them again. So I know that each of them, is 5 at a time. So that's 10. Duplicate it one more time. 15, 20, 25, and 30. So that's all the hearts that I need. So that will be good there. And then the last piece I need is I wanted a little bit of a bigger place card that talks about what these represent. So I'm going to take one of these and I'm going to duplicate it. Bring it down here. And then I'll need one extra heart for this one. Okay, one more. Then what we're going to do is we're going to unlock it, make it bigger. Maybe even a little bit bigger than that. Let's do about 5 wide and 6 high. We're going to say because of Jesus. Oh, that needs to be capitalized. Man, Design Space is just really glitchy today. Because of Jesus, comma, you are ... So now we're going to adjust this text here. We're going to bring the line spacing together. Oops, not further apart. Closer. Let's just try like -1. Okay, actually that looks good. So let's go in, we're gonna detach this so that I can adjust the text a little easier. And actually I might put that a little bit lower. and do a couple hearts on this one so that I can do like 2 or 3. So select everything and attach. And now we're going to need a couple of extras just in case. Now we have this enormous project, so we are definitely going to save our work. Do I have a, oh, okay. Paper projects, there we go. So put that in collection and then put save. All right, then we are going to use the handy dandy color sync panel, and we are going to make sure that everything is where we want it to be. So this helps us to combine and use less colors of cardstock. So this is good because I want the ruffled hearts on their own. That's going to be the pattern paper for me. What about, okay, and then these hearts. So I'm going to change the color of this card back in the layers panel. I want this to be the same red as the hearts. So is that one? I think so. Let's double check. So we have the ruffled hearts. Yep. And then we have this one square in here, which is this one. Perfect. Okay. So we have everything we need. We're going to save our work. And then we're going to go to make it. We're going to double check everything. Now, this is pretty unusual, but I do have some 12 by 24 paper that I'm using for everything except for the pattern cardstock. Pattern cardstock is in a 12 by 12 size. So I need to make sure that my mats are all the correct size. Yep. So there's a 12 by 24. There's a 12 by 24. So this one I need to change to 12 by 12, and I'll probably need a couple sheets. That's okay. No, I have it all. Sweet. Okay, great. We got it, y'all. Told you I didn't prepare for this one. You can tell. And so now we get into the huge cutting phase. So all of this is going to be medium cardstock. And so I'm going to click Remember Material Settings. And now we head over to my Cricut and cut and score everything. So typically it's going to ask us, yeah, to write and then score, and then we cut last. So you can always rely on step 2 to tell you what you need to put into your machine. So we're going to head over to my Cricut machine, and now we're going to do that. So I'm going to be using a bunch of 12 by 24 paper, and it is from Cricut. It's this Red Tones cardstock pack. I've had some of this paper forever, and so I'm finally excited to use it. And that's where I got it from, in case you guys have never seen that Cricut does have 12 by 24 paper. And then I'm using some pattern cardstock, which is also from Cricut. Some of my favorite is the Natalie Milan pattern paper that she's designed for Cricut. It is really, really pretty. Now, this red is a bit dark for our pen, but this is a really pretty red. And we'll begin with our light pink cardstock. I have this little flaw in my paper, so I'm going to put this at the bottom like this, so that hopefully none of the damaged parts will show. And of course I'm using a 12 by 24 light grit mat. Okay. So I'm going to smooth all this on, but I need to add in my pen and my scoring tool into my Cricut Maker. So for most of the writing, except for I think on the red I'm going to use a gel color, but on this one I'm using the 0.4 tip black pen from Cricut. And one tip that I have for you is before you put this into your Cricut machine, try scribbling it on a piece of paper first to make sure that everything writes okay. Because sometimes you'll notice it'll skip around a little bit. So if you'll write a little bit first, then you'll kind of get the pen warmed up. So once I get the pen warmed up, I'll go ahead and open clamp A, make sure that the gray triangle is facing out in front, and place that pen in clamp A and close it. Then I need to put the scoring wheel into clamp B, and I store all of my tools for my Cricut Maker here in the lid. So I need to find my interchangeable housing, or wait a minute, right? Yeah, I think so. Because that's the knife blade, and that's the rotary tool. So I need to find my interchangeable housing, and my tip, that's the scoring wheel. Now, one tip that I have for you is if you're ever not sure which tool you need, if you go back into Cricut Design Space, step 2 will tell you what the number on the tool should say. So let me take a look and verify. The single scoring wheel is the number 1. So I know that's really tiny, but if you guys can see it right there, that's how I know I'm using the correct tool. So I'm just going to push down this button, and then I'm going to fit the scoring wheel onto the bottom. Then I'm going to open up clamp B, and I like to usually put my blade here in the side of my Cricut so I don't lose it. Then put in my tool so that the open part of the gears is in the back. Close it, and then we're ready to go. So we'll go ahead and insert my mat, and then it'll measure and verify my tool and all that good stuff. And now we're ready to get started. Hey, real quick, if you want to go from a Cricut beginner to a confident Cricut crafter, then you need to check out my online course, Cricut Chemistry. I took my very best tips, tricks, and techniques around paper crafting, HTV, and vinyl crafting and packaged them into my online course so that you can learn in just a few weeks what it took me 7 years to learn. You can find more information about it over on my website, DIYAlex.com, as well as linked in the description below. Now, back to this video. So then once all of the scoring and the writing is done, your machine is going to pause. You don't need to unload your machine, or excuse me, your mat. You're simply going to remove the scoring wheel, put that aside, and then put your blade back into clamp B so that you can cut all of the squares out. Then you just press go once again. And if you ever get stuck on this part, Design Space will always tell you what to do, so you can always check Design Space and it will prompt you for the right tools. Now our first mat is complete, so of course I'm going to unload it. And I was thinking about this actually. I'm going to go ahead and peel everything off here. But I think what I'm going to do to help myself save some time, because in true crafter fashion, the Galentine's party is today, the day that I'm filming this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to either start next with the red mat that has the hearts or the pattern mat that has the outside of the scalloped hearts, because I want to be able to work on assembling them while my Cricut is cutting out these other cards, because the hearts are going to have to be assembled before they are attached to each of the place cards. So we always want to work smarter, not harder, right? So let me double check Design Space and see which mat I want to put next. I'm going to go ahead and put the red mat next because I want to have those hearts, like I said, so that I can work on them really soon. So one thing I'm going to do, because I'm using such a dark paper, is I'm actually going to remove this pen and set it aside because I'm going to use it on the dark pink still. But on the dark red, I actually want to use the gold gel pen. Here's what it looks like on the top. So it's a little bit of a thicker pen, but that's what I want to write on the red stuff because, or on the red paper because I think it's going to look better. So now that this is a scrap, I'm going to begin this one, or kind of get this pen warmed up by scribbling here on my scrap. Now I'm going to go ahead and load this one the same way that I loaded before, with the triangle facing me. And then it's going to call for the scoring wheel again. But this time I'm going to load up my red paper. And this one, technically, I could have used a 12 by 12 sheet. It's actually not, I don't think it's big enough that I actually needed the 12 by 24 sheet. I just happened to have it, and all of these reds and pinks are kind of slated to go together. So I like this idea because I like how the tones of the paper work together. And we'll go ahead and get this one started. So here's how they are looking so far. Just super cute and simple. And I think those hearts are going to add such a cute little extra touch to the top. All right, y'all, well, that is cutting on the mat. I'm also going to get my other mat ready so that it's ready to insert into the Cricut as soon as this is finished cutting. So I'm just using a 12 by 12 mat because that's what I set my machine to. And with the 3rd generation machines, like the Maker 3 and the Explorer 3, you actually can't trick the machine and use the wrong size mat. So it's gonna measure, and whatever size you set it to, you have to use that size mat. So normally I'd probably just use my 12 by 24 mat if I was able to, just so that I didn't have to drag out another one, but my 3rd generation Maker won't let me do that. So I'm going to go ahead and place my pattern paper here on a light grip 12 by 12 mat and get that ready to cut out these scalloped hearts so that I can begin assembling them. So now that this is done, we're going to unload it, and I'm going to go back into Design Space and select my 12 by 12 mat to make sure it cuts the correct one, and then I can work on this on the side while this one is cutting. So now we have our big Jesus Place card. It says, "Because of Jesus, you are," and some really pretty gold pen. We'll just fold that in half and kind of set it aside. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to peel off these hearts, and then I'm going to be using like some 3D foam squares, or I guess these are circles actually, but I'm going to be putting these on the red circles, and then I'm going to use the same thing on the back of the pattern paper to give it a 3D effect for when I stick it to the place card. So what I can do to save myself some time is I can peel these off and go ahead and place the dots on the back. I'll set them off to the side so that the mat doesn't get in the way. And that way they're ready to stick onto the other hearts. And now I'll start placing these little dots on the back of my hearts. And I'm also going to go ahead and peel off the paper. So they have paper on both sides to keep from sticking. So I'm going to go ahead and peel off these little papers as well. One tip that I have for you is when you're using a bunch of these, if you use a lint roller, you can stick all these little papers to the lint roller so that they don't get all over the place. So I'll continue working on my hearts, but now these are all cut out and ready to go. So now I'm going to reload for my last mat. I need to go ahead and put my black pen back in, but I'm going to draw on my sticky note again just to make sure it doesn't skip. and change out for my scoring wheel. And now this last mat is ready to cut and all the things. All right, y'all, well, that's cutting. Let's check out how these turned out. Oh my gosh, they are so cute. Look at them. I just love them. Okay, so I'm gonna peel these off. I know y'all can't see that, but I've got it over here off frame. But I'll show you what they're gonna look like, because I'll start sticking them down like that. You guys, how cute. And then these will be stuck. I'll probably put the foam pieces on the bottom of these so that they can stick just like this, or maybe in the middle somewhere, or on the right side, so they can stick somewhere to the place card. Something else I'm doing is I'm peeling back my cutting mat so that I can easily peel my hearts off. Now this may not work if you have a brand new light grip cutting mat, but I like to bend my mats a lot when I work with paper so that I don't have to bend the paper. You could apply this project to anything. You could do, instead of the little hearts, you could do little baby feet for like a baby shower, and you could actually do people's names. You could do this for any kind of church event if you wanted to keep it, you know, Jesus themed. But really you could do it for anything you wanted. That's kind of what I love about Cricut projects, is I can show you guys what I'm making, but then you can take it and you can make it anything that's going to work for you. So if you have an event coming up, or, you know, you see a project and you're like, oh, my friend so-and-so would like that. You can take it and you can change the colors and the theme and everything else, but essentially, you know, it's the same project. And even though it took me some time, especially because usually I pre-plan these for you guys when I make a lot of my videos, but in this case, this is just like a real life craft along with me during mostly baby's nap time, for a project that I'm making, you know, not for just a plain tutorial, but to actually utilize in my regular life. So next what I'm going to do is, I've got all my place cards folded in half. I'm going to go ahead and take probably all of my hearts, or at least all but a few of them, and go ahead and place dots on the back towards the bottom so that I can get them ready to stick on. We can kind of do it in like an assembly line style. Really, there's no right way to do it because all the steps have to be done either way. But I do think when you're working on something like this, it's faster if you can do all the steps at once. So like if you can put on all the foam dots in one fell swoop, I think you'll be a little quicker at it than if you know, were to separate out each one. So that's why I do it the way that I do it. But I'm going to grab my lint roller here and stick it right here. I'm going to place the extra papers on the top of the dots right there on my foam roller, or excuse me, my lint roller. You know, I originally envisioned this in the middle when I thought about this project, so I think I'm going to go ahead and do it in the middle, and then they'll be super cute as they sit on the table. So we're going to leave that for now, and I'm just going to start sticking them. Like I said, we're going to eyeball it, not overthink it. Press it in and then set it aside. Just set that one a little lower to make sure the foam dot, you know, is stuck to the paper, but it looks so cute. And these are so simple. You can add like another layer if you want the Cricut to write on another piece of paper, and then you can stick it to the center. But because I only had limited time, I wanted to keep mine nice and simple. I think with this one, let me use the ones that don't have stickers on them to decide. I think I'll do 2 out to the side so that it looks nice and balanced. So we'll do 1 here and 1 here. Awesome. So cute and so fun. Plus a great way for me to use up my pattern paper, honestly. I love getting to do that. We always love to make people feel chosen, wanted, free, adopted, all those other things because of Jesus's love. So what a perfect way to show everyone. If you learned something new in this video, then be sure to comment below and subscribe to DIY Alex for more free content just like this. If you don't want to wait for the next video, then you can find me on your favorite social media platforms. I have all my links down in the description. All the hearts.